Welcome back. We're here with Aaron from Growth Operations. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming on. I've known you, as we were talking, since 2019, so really excited to kind of get to dive deeper into what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm glad to talk about it.
Of course. So Growth Operations was created back in 2019. Where did this passion come from to start a nonprofit?
So this passion to start a nonprofit came from working in the school systems. I actually worked in various jobs in the school systems. A lot of the times I was working with the troubled kids or the kids that were getting in trouble. So I wanted to give them something to reach for, and the way that I felt that I could give them resources is by starting a nonprofit to create opportunities for them to grow. I start by just having free events for them on the weekends and things. I just started by having one event a month, and that's how I started working with them in that nature.
And I like where this passion comes from, because you obviously care. Like you want to help them. You see a need. You obviously were in the system, so you kind of saw the troubles of it.
Right.
And Growth Operations also has a focus on just helping kids in general, if that's physical health, if that's mental health. When a kid comes in and he's struggling, what is the first thing you do to really help?
Well, the first thing that we really do to help is we want to assess the situation. We want to know, what's going on. We want to know their background. We want to talk to, all the parties involved, their mother. We want to have a team here at Growth Operations that's, getting to the crux of what the issue is. And then from there, we would create a plan for them, to, handle the issue that's at hand, right? So that would be our first step to do, go through that assessing and then, creating a plan. But, then we would decide, from their parents, would they rather be working inside a group of other kids, or do they need to work on an individual basis? And then we would go and, schedule how they would come and they would be with us based upon those needs and things of that nature.
And obviously kids have a lot of different personalities that you're working with. Some are introverted, some are extroverted, some have dealt with kind of trauma in the past. How do you kind of go about still wanting to achieve your goal of helping them while also catering to the kid's personality?
So I think that, like I said, based on their plan basing on their plan and their needs, right? And following that plan and getting to the bottom of their needs and when we're spending time with them. So, for example, if a child is, they're going through a loss, when we're spending time with them, we want to really focus on their coping skills, those things to really combat, feeling sad, feeling depressed, feeling lonely. We want to really spend time doing that. But we also, like you said, we want to cater to them, but we want to also stay around the general focus of them growing. So, sometimes that comes with tough coaching. We have to help them and be focused on their plan, but like you're saying, we also have to generally hold them accountable, keep them responsible. We cannot just only cater to them. So there is, like you're saying, a fine line between that of helping them and catering to them. And we try to keep that in mind a lot. We're a tough coaching type of program, tough loving program, right? And that doesn't mean anything wrong. It just means that we're going to hold you accountable. I like to akin this to sports with them, as them being on a team, and I and the members of my team, we're their coaches. We're their life coaches in a sense, right? So your coach isn't always going to say, I love you, it's okay, everything's okay. They're going to pat you on the back and say, you got to do better right now. Or this is going to happen. It would just be best for you. It would be in your best interest to do X, Y, and Z. So that's how I feel we would keep the goal here, and also, cater to them is keeping that line balanced.
And one of those goals is helping kids make a positive first impression when they're meeting people and kind of building that skill.
Right.
Why do you think that skill is so important to learn early on?
The skill of making a good first impression, I believe that's very, very positive. That's actually something I'm talking to them a lot right now, because from there, we're not told to, judge people, but that is what's happening. They're making a judgment about your character, how they feel about you during that first initial meeting. So that's a very, very big thing that we're always talking about, is when they're meeting people, making sure they're shaking their hand properly, looking them in the eye, because we want to have a basis of respect once they're creating any type of relationship, right? And that's from a peer to an adult. All those types of things. The first impression is very much important.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, building those soft skills and building those little things of like, Hey, when you're meeting someone, shake their hand.
Yes.
Look them in the eye. Like things that, you're not usually taught at in the schooling system or as a kid, as those things. So it's awesome. You guys are kind of taking not just the broader skills, but the softer skills and kind of, allowing the kids to learn the things that, like that matter in the day-to-day stuff as well.
That's the most important to us. It's great that you even say that. That day-to-day is, what's most important. That's why, we even got into this field is because we feel that we could affect the day-to-day the most in this realm.
Yeah. And American society is filled with a lot of toxic things. If that's the food we eat, if that's the music we listen to, if that's the shows we watch, if that's social media. When you're helping these kids, how do you go about navigating that?
So we're really just speaking to them about their total well-being. So from that, we're really putting them in a programming that is kind of negating those things of, eating toxic food or watching toxic shows. When they're with us, we're in a program where it's it's holistic based, and it has a component of exercising. We're going to get some studies in, and we're going to we're going to have some SEL things going on as well, right? So when I'm speaking to them, I'm talking about their total well-being. These are the things that you need to do to affect your total well-being. Like you're saying, the things that you're ingesting in your mind, the things that you're doing with your body, the things that you're doing with your spirit. So that's how I really, really focus with them on those things, is talking to them about their total well-being and telling them that you're in this program because I want you to understand and have reference for what to do to affect your total well-being, to have those skills, like you're saying. I like that you're saying skills, because that's really what a lot of this is skills based. Yeah. It's a lot of I tell them it's practice, because when you go out there, it's a game, right? And when here, you can mess up. You can do all the things that you need to do. I'm creating that space for you to mess up, to learn, because this is practice, like you're saying, skill practice.
And I really like how you guys take the holistic whole approach, because I think you see a lot of people trying to help the youth, but they do it in kind of patches of like, hey, we're gonna help them get active, or we're gonna help them, have, like stuff to play with or clothes. But it's like, I like how you guys take the full package of like, hey, like we're gonna help them with the mental, with the spiritual even, the physical. Like you guys take that, because you can solve one thing, but if they're eating Red 40, that's only gonna go so far, right? Exactly. So I like how you guys are gonna take that approach.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
And to kind of go like broader, where do you think society in America has gone wrong when it comes to cultivating an environment for happy humans?
I think that a big part of that is, taking the thought of mental health and making it a bad notion, or almost demonizing the statement of mental health. I think that if people would not become so reactive with mental health and be more proactive with mental health, I think that would help us cultivate more happy humans. Like you're saying, making it a priority, teaching these kids these soft skills, teaching these kids these coping skills, but not just in programs like this, but in their day-to-day lives. We have to make this an essential thing for our day-to-day existence. Where, like you're saying and have said, we're being inundated with so much negative stuff. We have to make this a priority. This has to be a conscious priority to be practicing these things, just like lifting a weight. We have to lift these things. It's mental workouts, mental gymnastics. So that's where I think that society has gone wrong. And when trying to cultivate a happy person, and if I got to speak about like mental health on in this moment right now, I would say that I would change the thought of mental health. Everyone has a mental health status, and you can improve it and it can decline. And that's how I would talk to children. That's how I do talk to my children about this. Do not feel that you're wrong or you're bad because you're going through this time. You're going to get out of this time, and there maybe one day you go back into this time, but you're here to train for when you go into those times. Yeah. You have references. So that's what I think, we've gone wrong. We're not giving enough references. There's not enough people going out there giving them the references to say, hey, it's rough out here. You need to think about this every day. You need to sit down and focus every day. Take 10 minutes, think about what you're doing. Be grateful for the food you're eating, the clothes you have, where you live, those small things. And I think that's where we're going wrong in society.
Yeah, and I think mental health is the practice. And I think a
Yes.
lot of people, because I struggled with it for a while, and you see therapists talk about it, and they don't take a practice approach of like, we have to build the skill of like feeling feelings. We have to build the skill of like self-awareness. We have to build these skills, and then you implement them, and you take a different of like, a different approach of, instead of running away from my thoughts and feelings, let's build skills to accept them and
Right.
feel them.
Right.
And what's your opinion on the schooling system being a pipeline for prisons?
How do I feel about the schools being a pipeline to prison? I think it's very unfortunate. I think that a place that's supposed to be for education and for betterment, being a pipeline somewhere that's a negative is very unfortunate. My program, Growth Operations, our program, we are very, very conscious of that. And, building these children's literacy skills is one of our biggest goals. During the summer, we're only focused on mathematics and reading. But during the school year, they bring their homework to us, and we help them complete their homework. But if we're seeing that you're struggling, we're seeing that you're not at the level that you need to be at, we provide them with an educational advocate to where they're getting tutoring in that, because we understand what's at stake. We know that if you cannot read, you will have a rough life. Things are not going to go good for you if you're not understanding what's happening around you. So that's how I feel about the prison to school pipeline. I have created a resource, to try to avert that a little bit. As I said, I've worked in several of the TPS schools, and a lot of the schools, they're saying, we're aware of this, but they're not doing as much as they could do to really avert that. Truly, I don't even want to say that. That's not fair. There's really only so much you can do within the parameters of a state-ran organization like that, right? So I believe that it takes, like we're saying, people like yourself and people like myself who are doing things outside those organizations, but understanding what's at stake, and then coming back to those places and saying, hey, I understand what's going on. I would like to create something that would help to avert that, right?
And just like you said, I think when you look at why they were created with the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, it's a system that's built to crush the human soul. So it's very hard you can obviously pull positivity out of anything, but it's very hard to build positivity in a system that's meant to crush the soul.
All right.
So
I agree with that.
And
that's talking about without something to put your soul into during that time of being there can be very difficult. And I believe that's a lot of the reason why we have children that are so, they are so depressed, or they are so sad and they don't have any escape because they're not going somewhere else for that. A lot of the place for that for me is I got to play football. That's another reason why I've created this place, because you need to have something else that, I go to school, it's school, but I go to this place, I'm free here, I get to run here, they're gonna feed me well, I'm gonna eat all their food, I'm gonna chill, they're gonna treat me well, and then I'm gonna go home. I wanna give them that silver lining in that process, because I truly understand where they're going every day. So yes, it's very interesting, dynamic.
Well, and
because they don't know.
They don't, and it's unique that you're that perspective. That you can think deeper into the system. You can ask questions. So you take a perspective like, okay, this was made by the Rothschilds. What was their goal? Okay, their goal was this.
Cheap labor.
How do we combat that goal? And I think with that perspective, it allows you to offer different services than just like the regular nonprofit that doesn't question those things, or that doesn't even think the Rothschilds are bad.
Right.
They're like, oh, the Rothschilds are good. It's like,
Right.
Are they really?
Understood. Right.
So,
I understand.
And in a material world, how do you find time to detach and feed your soul?
This place that we're in right now, it really doubles as my sanctuary. I love to exercise. This whole idea is really a testimonial from my family. My mother, I have ADHD diagnosed. So my mother, I was taking medicine, and my mom didn't like how it was making me feel. So she made it her priority to make me exercise. She found an alternative for me to do instead of just having all this energy. and not being able to focus, she found something for me to focus at, and that was football, like I said. So exercising has been, a very, very big part of my life. So this place, it's not just for them, but it's for me. It's where I go to be. When they're not here, we share it. They don't even understand how big of a deal it is for me, but I express it to them that, they're in something that I built for not just them, but for myself. So that's how I detach. I get in here and I work out. I have my peers come in here and I work out. My mom comes in here and we work out. I just like to get active, and that's a big deal for me. I like to rollerblade. I like to play basketball. I like to do anything that's active, and that's how I detach, because when you're getting moving, you're really truly in the moment, and that's the beautiful. Nothing else matters when you're sweating, when you're moving, when you're having fun. So that's how I detach from, all the mundane day to day,
Would you say your nonprofit is something you built for your younger self?
100%. 100%. It's a testimonial, This is literally the way that I was raised. This is how my mother raised me. She fed me. She made sure I was safe. She made sure my homework was done. She made sure my soft skills was proper. My mom made me go out and practice shaking men's hands, practice looking men in their eyes, So, it's a very big deal, right?
I have 2 more questions for you. Mm-hmm. What is one thing you've taken for granted in your life that you now appreciate?
Focusing on a goal. And I don't think that I'm all the way where I need to be, but I look back in time and I say I could be farther than I am now with just more focus, with just more intent, right? So that's one thing I would regret, that I have regretted, but I'm learning about, currently. Taking the time to focus, being intent about all the thoughts that you're having, right? So,
I like that. Thanks. I have one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have dinner with 2 people, one person from the past,
okay,
and one person from the present,
okay,
who would it be and why?
From the past? Like how far in the past?
Whenever.
Okay. What are you thinking about in the past? I don't want to think of anybody corny. Well, present day, I would like to have dinner with A.A. Rashid, and I like the way that he thinks. He's a philosopher, and I like the way that he philosophizes, does his philosophy. And who's from the past that I would enjoy to speak with or eat dinner with? Jeez. From the past. I too much don't think about the past. Jeez, I'm going blank. Edit this out. Just go straight to the word. Jeez, what's my guy's name? I guess I would eat with W.E.B. Du Bois, however you want to say it. I would like to, just the things that he wrote were, they were very foreshadowing for the time that he was writing. The way that he was seeing things, the visions that he was having for a group of people, telling them where they were possibly going to go if this doesn't happen or if that doesn't happen. I thought that was very interesting, and I'd like to talk to him about those times.
Nice. Those are 2 new ones we have, so I like those ones. Well, Aaron,
Thank you.
Those are the questions I have. How can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
You can find me on Instagram at growth_ops. And you can also find us on our website at www.growthhw.org. That's all for our social medias. One thing I would like people to leave with is, just taking just one day at a time, growing one day at a time. If you're growing, try to help those around you grow, because without that happening, you cannot grow, right? So make your environment grow as you try to grow. And that's one thing I leave people with.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate it, bro.